This video is going to be all about my fear of flying and my anxiety and how I've pretty much gotten over both of those. I don't think you can ever really fully get over anxiety, but I have learned to deal with it and to put my mind at ease, and it's pretty much something I don't have to deal with anymore. And it used to be something I had to deal with every single day of my life. So if you want to learn some tricks that could possibly help you with your fear of flying or anxiety, keep on watching. Right, Brody? He loves to just sit here and watch me record these videos, and I think it's hysterical. So I've kind of had anxiety my whole life. I really noticed it in high school when I would get really sharp pains in my chest and I would just lose my breath, and come to find out it was from having anxiety, which I didn't really know about back then. And then our family friend Amy, who I've talked about in these videos, who does all my hair stuff, she gave me these charms that I will tell you more about later, but pretty much whenever I felt anxious, I would just put them on and take a nap, and for some reason it just helped me get through that moment. My anxiety really started to get bad when I was sick and no one knew what was wrong with me, and I kept getting misdiagnosed. And I was also in college at the time, so just there was a lot of things piling up. When I got to the point where they were about to start trying to diagnose me, and it was either going to be cancer or this really bad blood disorder, but it was probably cancer, but they couldn't say for sure, I was in my own upside down world for you Stranger Things fans out there. But it was just, I was blacked out. I didn't know what to do. I cried. I watched YouTube videos of people with terminal cancer, and I started writing out notes to all my friends. Like I was in a very weird place, and it only was for a week, but for that week my anxiety was all I was. I was just anxious at all times. I was getting scans and blood work and bone marrow tests and going to 15 different doctors. Yeah, so for that whole week I was just one big walking anxiety attack. So then it kind of got a little more relaxed when I was about to start getting chemo treatments, because I just finally had a diagnosis and I knew what was going to happen. Until the night before my first treatment, I was fine. But the night before, I broke out in this huge rash from head to toe, big red hives, and obviously we went right to the doctor, and they said that it was just anxiety and nerves about chemo. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not that nervous. I'm fine. Like, it's not from that. And come to find out, it was from that. They never came back. It was just so subconsciously, I was so nervous and afraid of, I mean, rightfully so, of what I was about to go through, that my body just had that reaction. After the chemo was all done and I was cancer-free is when my anxiety got really bad. I don't know what it was. Any little thing that I felt wrong with me, I thought the cancer was back. There was no way to escape it. Before every scan, I would freak out. I would be up all night, like couldn't even breathe, to the point where we were calling the doctor because I said, I'm having a heart attack, you know, my brain is gonna explode, there's a tumor in my brain. Anything that I could think up in my head, I thought was wrong with me. I turned into a person that was afraid of everything, as someone said to me, which I absolutely hate, but it was so true. I wouldn't go on trains because I didn't like being in big groups crowded like that. I didn't want to go out in public because I was afraid someone was going to shoot up wherever I was going. I didn't trust anyone else to do anything, so if I was not the one driving the car, I would be having a panic attack in the back. I just didn't want to be anywhere where I would be in danger, and I've since used tricks and things to overcome those, and I'm now much better. But for a while I was literally afraid of everything. My fear of flying was something that really affected me, and I just hated it because I was always the person talking my friends off the ledge saying, you know, it's fine, it's just an airplane. And now all of a sudden I'm the one laying down on the seat because I'm having a panic attack. So one of the first times I really noticed it was after I booked a trip to Costa Rica with my friends. I cried the whole night. I was having, you know, those heart palpitations. I couldn't breathe. My brain felt like it was gonna explode. And you go into like this blackout mode for, you know, weeks until the trip actually happened. And then I cry on the way to the airport. I cried when I'm about to get on the plane. I almost didn't get on the plane. I remember texting my friend, like, I don't know if I could get on this plane. And she probably thought I was joking, but I literally was sitting there like, okay, I could probably get $100 back. It won't be that big of a deal if I don't go. And then finally I just forced myself to do it. I freaked out every time I hit a bump of turbulence, but I did it and I got there. There's a million and one other plane stories I can tell you, but they pretty much all are the same. I was terrified when I booked it. I was terrified at the airport. I was terrified on the plane. I was terrified when I got home safely, but I was alive and nothing happened. The main one that I need to talk about is my trip to Thailand. And for anyone who doesn't know how far away Thailand is, it's fucking far. It's almost 24 hours on a plane. And I did it. There's about 8 of our friends that were going, and they had been planning this for a while, and I was always like, yeah, I want to go. Who doesn't want to go to Thailand? I love traveling, seeing the world. I didn't want to miss out on any of these experiences, but I kept thinking in my head like, oh, well, I don't really need to go. It won't be that great. And then I'm like, okay, if my friend Sam doesn't go, I won't go. But then all of a sudden she could get work off and she was fully on board, and now I'm sitting there like, fuck. And I don't think I can. I'm like, all right, come over my house and we'll book this flight. So she comes over and I start crying. I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And for people who don't have a fear of flying, it's hard to understand because they're like, come on, dude, it's just an airplane, you're fine. But in my soul, I literally felt like if I clicked accept on that button to confirm my tickets and book that trip, like that was me pretty much saying, I'm gonna die and I'm okay with that. Like the thought of going on an airplane just meant I was going to die. And I don't know why, I can't explain it, that's just how I felt. So she booked her ticket, and I didn't. Even though she came all the way to my house so we could book together and go to Thailand and whatever, I couldn't do it. I just sat there and cried, and I didn't book my trip. The whole next day, I just kept thinking about seeing all the pictures and videos and all the experiences they were gonna get to have, and that I was just not gonna go because I was afraid to fly. And I remember my mom asking who was going, and I told her, all my friends, whatever. And normally she would have been like, oh, just stay home, you'll save money, it'll be fine, you don't want to go, you're afraid. But she was like, no, you have to go. So I just blacked out, went online, booked my ticket, hit the confirm button, didn't even think twice, sent a picture to my friends, and I was like, all right guys, I'm afraid to take a 4-hour plane ride down to Costa Rica, but going to Thailand. It was the same thing. I was afraid there, hysterically crying the whole way to the airport, but when I got off that plane, I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And we were there for 2 weeks, so we did a lot of things, new things. We flew to different places within Thailand. We went on crazy boat rides and on these like tuk-tuks and things that I became afraid of, but by the end of the trip, I was like a new person. I kept flying even though I was afraid of it. I went on boats even though I was afraid of it. I let other people drive a jet ski. That's something I did in Thailand also. I never used to let people drive the jet ski, only me. I went on the back of a jet ski with someone. Like, by doing these things that you're afraid of, that's how you get over them. Because you do them and you realize that you're okay and you're perfectly fine. And the feeling that you have is indescribable. When I got home from that trip, I honestly felt like a new person, like the old Brenna before chemo, before cancer, that was carefree, was back. I still am anxious about some things, but not to that extreme level. And then after, when I came back, I started booking more flights. I went to Florida, I went to Punta Cana, and I wasn't afraid. There was no anxiety, there was no losing sleep. It was actual pure excitement. I was ready to go. I was excited about the trip instead of crying and being afraid the whole time. Yeah, when I'm on the airplane and there's some turbulence or something, I get a little shaken up, but I'm not how I used to be in any way. And by booking that trip to Thailand and forcing myself to fly and do things that I was afraid of, that is how I got over my fear. So to get into some tips that I use when you're flying, first I have these little pendant things that I wear whenever I am on my way to the airport, on the plane, and then as soon as I land, I take them off and put them in my bag. It's almost like a little security blanket, so maybe something like this that can help you.
one of the main things is to look around you when you're freaking out. Look around at everybody else, and everyone is calm, everyone is relaxed, most people are passed out sleeping, so you just need to tell yourself everyone else is fine, so there's no reason for you to be freaking out. After my trip to Thailand, a couple months later went to Florida, and the kids on my plane, when we hit turbulence, started clapping and cheering and were laughing and loving it. Meanwhile, I'm like gripping the seat. It just kind of struck me that you need to just like be like a kid, relax. Everything's fine until you see, you know, the stewardess calling over the radio for help. You're gonna be okay. Everyone deals with their anxiety in their own way and has their own tricks that they use. So I made a list of the ways that I deal with anxiety, so hopefully they can help you too. When I feel anxious or my heart starts racing and I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack, I just take ice cubes, and it sounds stupid, but you squeeze them in the palm of your hand as tight as you can and they'll start melting. I don't know why that helps, something with the temperature of your body, I don't know, but that's a big trick that I use a lot, and you kind of look like a crazy person, but it works. Next thing is to count your pulse, or to count someone else's pulse. So if I'm in the back of a car and start freaking out because, you know, somebody's driving and I don't trust them, I'll just put my mind somewhere else and just start counting my pulse. Or my friend's hand, I'll just like grab their wrist and start counting. This doesn't really happen as much anymore. It just, in the past when I've had really bad anxiety about being in cars with people, that's something that I would do. And then, you know, breathing 4 long deep breaths. You can find stuff online, I'm sure, to, you know, it's like a expanding shape, and you breathe with as the shape goes in and out. Listening to music or watching funny videos, that's something I did a lot during chemo. When I was feeling anxious, I would just listen to music, find something to distract myself, watch a video of a comedy skit, just something to make me laugh, to take my mind somewhere else other than thinking about the panic attack that I'm about to have. Because as I'm sure a lot of you know, the more you think about it and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna have a panic attack, the worse it gets. The biggest and most effective one for me, at least, has been going to the gym and drinking a ton of water. I pretty much don't really deal with anxiety as much in my life anymore, and I think it's because I've been really going to the gym a lot and drinking almost a gallon of water a day. And I notice when I do take a couple days off from the gym, I start to get anxious about it, and my body just isn't the same. So it may sound simple and stupid, but if you're really struggling with anxiety, start working out, going for walks, going for runs, you know, yoga, anything active, and you will notice a world of a difference. Another thing that I do is I will literally talk to myself out loud and just say, you're overreacting, there's no reason to feel like this, you're perfectly fine. Take a deep breath and relax. And for some reason, just talking to myself out loud, like talking through it, helps me. Or you can write down, make a list of the things that are making you feel this way, and once you recognize them, it almost helps you to get over them. Right, Brody? Yeah, I think writing down things helps you to like become grounded almost, so that you can tell yourself, okay, look, you're feeling this way because of these things, and this is how you can fix them. Those are all the tips that I have to help deal with anxiety, and I can honestly say where I was a couple years ago to where I am now is a completely different person. And I think that, you know, the gym, along with all those other things, and doing what you're afraid of and what gives you anxiety is how you're gonna overcome them. And it's not something that will ever probably fully go away, but being able to deal with it and put your mind at ease is the most freeing feeling ever. So hopefully this video can help somebody out there going through the same thing. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.